God's most successful setback. Philippians 2, 9-11. Therefore God has highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name that is above every name, so that the name of Jesus every knee should bow, in heaven and on earth and under earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. He is always delighted to show his power through apparent defeat. He makes tactical retreats in order to win strategic victories. In the Old Testament, Joseph, one of the 12 sons of Jacob, was promised glory and power in his dream, Genesis 37, 5-11. But to achieve that victory, he had to become a slave in Egypt and sold by his brothers. And if that were not enough, when his conditions improved because of his integrity, he was made worse than a slave, a prisoner. But it was all planned by God for his good and for the good of his family, and eventually for the good of the whole world. For there in prison he met Pharaoh's butler, who eventually brought him to Pharaoh, who put him over Egypt. And finally his dream came true. His brothers bowed before him, and he saved them from starvation. What an unlikely route to glory. But that is God's way, even for his Son. He emptied himself and took the form of a slave, worse than a slave, a prisoner, and was executed. But like Joseph, he kept his integrity. Therefore God has highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name that is above every name, so that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow. And this is God's way for us too. We are promised glory if we will suffer with him, as it says in Romans 8:17. The way up is down. The way forward is backward. The way to success is through divinely appointed setbacks. They will always look and feel like failure. But if Joseph and Jesus teach us anything this Christmas, it is this: what Satan and sinful men meant for evil, God meant for good. Genesis 50:20. And so James 1 tells us to consider it joy when we go through trials of many kinds. And Jesus promises and tells us plainly that we will suffer for his name. But it's through those sufferings, it's through those trials that it develops our faith and perseverance of our faith, and proves that God is true and God is real, because we see the glory and his light can shine out of him. And so even in your setbacks, look out for God's successes. Look out for God raising Christ up in you, above your name, above every name that looks on. But also watch God raise you up. As Paul found out in 2 Corinthians 12, I think it is, he says, "For I boast in my weaknesses. For in my weakness, I am strong." And so when we look in the weaknesses of our setbacks, or the failures of our setbacks, let us realize that we are strong because Christ is working and Christ is showing his glory through us.